We'll call the meeting to order. All matters that shall come under deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to advance. She signed it. Honorable members, can we adopt the agenda? Sitting.
12th November from the Tower Committee Room 24 at sense of meeting, minutes of the meeting for at sense of meeting, minutes of the meeting of the first and second, the Parliamentary Budget Office briefed the committee, Parliamentary Budget Office briefed the committee on the performance of ordinary Act of 2024, that is on sharing of the was adjourned at 1:06 p.m. Chair.
On the minutes as read. Then can we Ronyoka proposes. I support. Thank you. Proposes. I support. Thank you. My co-chair. Brief opening statement from you. And maybe you can have also the members come on.
Senator Kisi County, Senator Kisi County, member of this committee. Education member of this committee. Education accountable committee.
Dr. Jambo Undo, member of Parliament. Dr. Jambo Undo, member of Parliament.
Wamatinga, Senator Nyeri County, member of this committee.
Introduce yourself and also maybe brief opening remarks before we go to agenda 4.
Thank you very much. Not taking this meeting seriously. You know, I do guilty, but he told me minutes.
We accept your apology.
Yes, yeah, thank you, my dear. And lastly, what is the tools to break that ceiling? Brother Mugatana, we are all in support of devolution. There is no question about discussing, which I don't want to recap because we'll be having all of us. So the issue has been the process which we delivered last time very thoroughly. It's also my hope that we get a conclusion on it, because the National Treasury was only the drawing of 50% of if we go for to the 6th month without solution, it therefore means after the 6th month we'll have to want to handicap our county government, because given that we'll be going for recess in 2 weeks' time, we're coming back in February, it therefore means after that 1st of December there'll be no money to run our county by the AG in terms of the drawing 50% before we finalize on the documents that one will be filed today. Otherwise, thank you very much. We have also our technical team can also introduce themselves.
Our technical team, kindly also introduce yourselves very quickly. record.
My name is Lucy Makala from Parliamentary Budget Office. I'm a Deputy Director. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairs and Honorable Members. My name is Abdul.
Lucy Radoli, Legal Counsel, Senate. National Assembly.
My name is National Assembly.
Frederick Mzenki.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Lois Alessi.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Onyang Badera.
Alin Chivadika, Clerk Assistant, Senate Committee on Finance.
Council Kachumbo, Committee Clerk, Budget and Appropriation.
Yes, I wanted to, Honorable Co-Chairs, so that we deal with it authoritatively. Honorable members and chairs, in Parliament, and whereas I understand further that it is a matter that everybody in the country of treasury, the Honorable Mbadi, he has made extremely prejudicial. Is the mediation on the Division of Revenue Act happening in Parliament or in the Senate to undertake this constitutional process? And yet we have a cabinet secretary in charge of treasury speaking in terms that are final, saying that he cannot add. Under the doctrine of separation of powers, we have three arms of government that when a process is domiciled or if that process is complete, it is the same in our standing orders, the rule against sub judice, that if a matter is before the courts, it allows the courts to complete that process before we can dip our hands in it. The same manner, when the committee must pronounce ourselves on the position that is being taken by members of the executive on a matter that is actively before this, when those processes are processes in futility, that there is another place where those conversations are being had and that that is responsible for unlocking this impasse, then there is no point for us to continue. And I know that certain pronouncements have been made by my party leader on this question of the division of revenue. He has his right to speak. He is not bound by the document. But if there was any doubt in anybody's mind where the cabinet secretaries who came from ODM, where their allegiances lie, you can see cabinet secretaries who originated from ODM taking diametrically opposite positions from the party. So that when we...
Thank you, SG. Thank you, SG. Through you, Chair.
We have that capacity to also...
He has just finished.
Tifuna said, maybe you can first assure us that this meeting is not about ODM. It is not about the declaration. No. And the comments were actually given by Baba, who is contesting for the AU chairmanship. So can he also confirm who is the actual party leader of ODM?
For the party. Whoever speaks for the party is Senator Sifuna. And he has clarified and put it that ODM is not part and parcel of the Kenya Kwanza government. Not bound by any statement made outside this room. It's us to negotiate and agree on the way forward.
When a lady speaks, you just have to make sure she...
Mwamba was almost taking my space. Honorable Chair, I just need your clarification. Government or Kenya Kwanza. I think we have Assembly and Senate. I would urge our members, all our members, to believe what we give here is the mediation process. The result of the mediation process here is what...
And keep it brief. All politicians allowing these opening statements is the tone setting.
Sababu hapa tumekuja kama wazee suluhisho, hata kama kuna mama pale pengine, lakini kama wazee
to the wedding of our daughter. Senator Mukatana kujili.
Kwa hivyo ili tuweke mawazo yetu kwa hili jambo ambalo limetuleta hapa, pia tuwe na moyo wa kujaribu sasa.
This matter, because when we saw the reports particularly personal, and we focus on the matter.
Any final, and then we'll okay.
The issue of a cabinet secretary. This is not just an individual. The money that is raised nationally, the revenue that is raised nationally belongs to national government. The money that is raised nationally. So it is reckless for the cabinet secretary in charge of treasury to make such statement. And I think that, Chair, we should not tolerate order. I think that you should take responsibility and call it to order. Lastly, I want just to make it clear from he's an acting chair of ODM. Okay? So just know it that way for okay, party leader for ODM, acting party leader for ODM. Thank you,
okay.
Chair.
Maybe.
Chair, you know,
before my chair,
the co-chair has already taken.
Just
and the co-chair has spoken.
Something I wanted the chair to rule.
No, please. Well, the co-chair speaking out of respect is important. You allow it.
Thank you very much, Chair. On a light note, given the eloquence, especially of Senator Sifuna, and the interjections from other members which are equally eloquent, you might think Honorable Badi actually moved the Indian Ocean. I want to request that we downplay that matter for today, so that we make progress. And for avoidance of doubt, members who are from the Budget Committee, we have come, because you're already making a budget here, the Rudora, is that is the budget on paper. So that willpower, it again is prerogative of the treasury. So how we've been working, especially in budget, is that we've been working in a manner that is very collaborative. They are also part and parcel, because we rely on each other. When we make a budget, it was not our prerogative to know what gets released. CS talks, he talks on the high side of the real availability of one. So I highly request that we permit them that flexibility, because he sits at the table that decides, and in the long run, the National Treasury is very pivotal in terms of budget making, in terms of DORA, and in terms of current. And by the way, so that we are on the same page on that, because you're likely to see many more things happening, the level of presidency in the past. Because sometimes it's good to be practical, that even as we make budgets, like the way we do with Honorable Makari Molu, the truth of the matter is that the ultimate... So all I'm saying is that if you check the last being in State House itself, not this current regime, I'm just trying to say that this is not
to just express himself, and if he finishes, you can have an opportunity to.
Maybe it's different from what we do. Is that there is usually a lot of consultations among all cabinet ministers, every opinion, because an opinion makes us richer. What we will not accept is a directive. And I don't think the CS was giving a directive.
Chair, I feel there's a clarification that we need to make. Ask what the vision is. He gives us his manifesto. You put that our job is to protect the county governments. So for you to say that you go to State House, you who tells you what in State House.
Your co-chair is saying, but there are things that understand from our perspective are just unacceptable. It doesn't. There are things that are simply unacceptable to me as a person who understands the Constitution and who believes in the purity of the doctrine of separation of powers. We that is vested in Parliament to other organs of state. It cannot be possible that a cabinet secretary, we should dissolve Parliament, let Mbadi make all the decisions he wants to make on the money that he wants to send. What is the point of us sitting here? And Honorable Ndindi Nyoro, at least for you, you have the luxury of being invited to State House. I am persona non grata at State House. I'm not going to go to State House. To do what? I personally believe that even as members of Parliament, you being summoned to State House, you are subserving yourselves to an institution that you observe and oversight. You will never see State House being summoned by the President. To do what? He will come tomorrow to Parliament because you are his oversights. You cannot be the one saying, oh, the budget is prepared by the President. He is not a member of the budget committee. I didn't know these things because you know me, I only know opposition. Now, clearly you are telling us that as a member of the National Assembly, just let me finish. I thought you said you have to finish.
But we have a right to raise point of order. Because when the trajectory goes to somewhere else,
Budgetary, you know you are the one who guided us on the rules. That when somebody is on the mic, it could be that, because I have never been in government, I don't know this animal called government, I could be ignorant to some of the things that Ndindi is. If we have been given the constitutional mandate as Parliament, let us do our job. Let us execute our mandate. That's what the people expect. A place where Sifuna cannot go. Or at Treasury. In this room, in this building. So you should tell me because I can just walk out. Yeah.
Protect, especially people who are not in this committee, by none other than the CS National Treasury. And there is nowhere where the executive for sure.
Okay, Makali.
You take a decision in consultation.
To bring it.
Consultation. Consultation is a conversation.
To just exhaustively finish what he wants to say. Honorable Makali, are you done? Come in. Mic off, Senator Nyonka. Everything very clear. We have parliamentary mandate as a committee, to be very honest, that in good faith, CS Mbadi should have kept on in matters Parliament. The clear mandate is, we can as well say here, position by Parliament, Mbadi is going to implement all the arms of government, which is not right. My co-chair just said something in good faith, but behind the scenes consultations will happen. Wherever, how that affects, for example, the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. Number one. Number two, the last 3 meetings, unfortunately, has been concentrated on core mandate of Ondora, which is the 3 controversial issues that we have, and decide on them, and we move forward. Resumption of consideration of division of. And today, because our time is extremely precious, we have met committee and largely political. Undertones are properly settled. And today, for us to go back to issues that are not before us as the core mandate of this committee. Obviously, and I would like to give my co-chair from agenda number 4 by the clerks taking us through that. Thank you very much.
Did come. The undercurrents the chair is talking about are well known to us. We have canvassed enough on that. The issues also attempt to move forward in terms of the legalese around after we. As they say, you can only eat an elephant piece by piece. So I'd rather we don't theorize on the whole. We now go to the real issue around the Don't belabor now anymore. Let's go to the next step, in my opinion. And therefore, any member with, if at all. Yes, Honorable DK.
Okay, I think with that guidance, we let the river flow. Where it is going to go is having said that, I wish we could have, the way we enumerated the 6 what transpired for the last 1 week we haven't met. We may not say. Initially, we had asked a lot of documentation in terms of the outlook, in terms of real observation from them. One of it is that finance bill that we are using to collect is the one for 2023-2024. So having come from there, then we go to what happened in the collection for the 2023-2024. And from the data that we have is that it increased around 21 billion. So the counties, Onyonga, this data we were provided. It is, I know you aren't there, but now having the two figures, and given that we are the Finance Act of 2023, and in 2023-2024, the share that had been given was 385 billion. The proposed for before what happened in to the finance bill for 2024-2025 back to the performance of 2023-2024. In the performance of 2023-2024 will not suffer a lot of losses. Source revenue increased last year, and chances are, if we go with the same trajectory, it is going to increase this year. So the from where I'm sitting, that is the proposal that we should support based on the data that is available. Thank you.
The entire justification by national government for why we need to cut the revenue, 80 billion addition, I had requested that you give us the national government's share of revenue raised nationally was adjusted 325 billion. That's important in terms of guiding the discussion.
Those who are not here. Before we go to Honorable Mukatana, let's go to Senator Onyonka.
I have to pronounce myself. Chair, I found this thing really interesting. You are keeping 75% of the revenue that government for the executive. How dare you? Which deals more than the governors. Billion. Chair, I'm so frustrated.
Honorable Chair, Honorable
Dr. Odo.
It won't lose
He's a
the
PhD.
steam. You will take the wind out of the sail. Honorable stealing more, or the county stealing less. We would need to be very specific when.
Shillings a day. Your minister said that yesterday.
Let me finish. Resources, that's a serious allegation. It needs to be backed. And on the content, once again, on our terms of reference right now, looking at whether it's Honorable Chair. And I think this is an item that we can take under the last meeting that I attended, Honorable Chair. I did inquire from the Secretariat why they have reached at county resources being deducted at 20 or being cut back with 20 billion. They did not cut of 20 billion. It's still not demonstrated to this mediation committee.
Did fantastic presentations. Before you go to Dr. Rabonyonka, I cut you short.
I wanted to say that your government is stealing. It is your minister. It is your 2 times 364 days. My party leader telling me you want 20 billion from county governments. What's that?
Honorable Dr. Audo now, please.
I think the first meeting we had in the Senate chamber, I think the chair of the Budget Appropriation Committee for the National Assembly basically coming out, and this is an agreed fact, that in this country of over-budgeting, and being extremely overambitious. And if you look at the means of the, and that's why even the, we just need to be very realistic. Very realistic. And if you look at underperformed, I think we start on those two. Continuously underperformed. We have overestimated our revenue, which we have never achieved in all those years. To fund the development budget of the National Assembly to a tune of about 100 billion.
Point of order.
We are
Point of order, Chair. Point of order. But he is making disparaging remarks against some of aspersions against me and expect me not to say anything. I am laying out my position because that's my position. You are the one who's making noise.
Luckily enough, everybody knows in Kenya don't make noise. I'm not. And I want you to draw it to attention on page 4 of the last minutes. Version of what transpired last week when we met here. So members, let's be there. No chance which is ever between now and 30th June that they will perform any better than last year. That's the fact. The fact number one. We cannot be oblivious of that fact. We can't bury our head in the sand and pray miracles are going to happen. We are all Kenyans. We must accept. And let me also go on record. We support devolution to be a point of reference. We have said whatever CS Band said, that was personal opinion. We have said whatever other political leaders have said, that their personal opinion. All the governments are saints that even producing more honey and to this issue here. Thank you.
Before we go to the chair, is that chair will give you yes, please. When you finish, Honorable Mugatana was fast. As we give our points, which are very valid, could we try to tie up at the last end on?
Okay, just a point of correction, because sometimes when we sit, we have to be very on-source revenue of counties are improving, but national government, revenue collection is outrightly wrong. The data we were given is very candid here. 2020, actual collection of revenue was 1.79 trillion. 2021-2022 is 2.19. 2.3605010 trillion. 2023-2024, 2.703 collection. So compare oranges with oranges, so that we can keep collecting. That's not the discussion. If you have collected some money and it's improvement, then you have data before you acknowledge. We have division of revenue. I want a suggestion on what is before us. Finally say we can play to the gallery, as you rightfully say. Okay?
Thank you. I wanted to pick it from where Dr. Udo Mheshimiwa has left it. I actually was following it, and they make a lot of sense. And I'm going to refer to that page. And it's indicating, like we all know, that because of the withdrawal billion. So I also wanted to just that is the one that is discussing the division between the national government and the county government. And on D, it says that we have to take into consideration to you to see that we agree that our minutes varied, but we also look at the need for county government to be able to function. So the same minutes are saying 20 billion. Now, between the national government and the county government, as compared to our county governments that have lesser capacity, into 5 pieces. And these 5 pieces, 4 billion, 4 billion, 4 billion, 4 billion. And because the national government has higher capacity than ourselves, can absorb this shock. In this way, I think we can make progress. And in this way, and I'm saying here, thinking that in accordance with 2 or 3 responsibilities. So I was going to request parts. The national government takes 4, and because they have a higher capacity to absorb, and the county governments take 1 part, which means we absorb only 4 billion. Mr. Chairman, I submit.
Even for guiding the process, we start now discussing the substantive issue. Members, if you allow, because Honorable Kiharu has not spoken.
DK, I follow procedures. Chair, I want to appeal to you on 2 principles. That numbers will support us here, given the numbers we were given last week. The first principle that I want to dissuade the National Assembly, the equitable sharing of national revenue. That is indeed unconstitutional. And as lawmakers, Article 202 of the Constitution. Article 202 of the Constitution, equitable sharing of national revenue shall nowhere where one source revenue in counties be a basis for sharing that revenue. That's the first principle I want to persuade the National Assembly. Still around that conversation. Number 2, Chair. The interpretation of Article 2 that it is only ordinary raised revenue, and that is wrong. Raised revenue as only ordinary raised revenue, which you want to focus on as taxes. Where we are right now is the fact that 2024-2025, 146 billion. Up to there, I think we are together. So we are being dishonest in this conversation when you continue to give 20 billion, that entire amount, to county governments, because the national government, and I'll demonstrate to you from the numbers that we had last year, the national government is already engaging on serious debt borrowing that is already catering for that 346 billion. Chair, as we speak right now, between May and August this year, the national government has about 11 new loans. And that 11 new loans, remember we are talking about 46 billion. Those new loans, we have already taken 258.4 billion towards financing what we're talking about here. And the Chair, if I may take it, because I didn't bring this document, you brought them to the meeting. I just took the time to analyze them. Chair, if you look at the sectors that those monies have gone to, Chair, you will find that some of the serious sectors that are affected by devolution have all been given those money to national government. And Chair, I'm going to take you there through that very fast. Chair, out of the money that I'm talking about, 248 billion that has already been borrowed, 58% of that money, that is 149 billion of those new loans borrowed, have gone to the general economic sector response. That is what the national government has given to us. And then, Chair, 41 billion has gone to the energy sector. Chair, ICT has also taken another 41 billion. But healthcare has taken 30 billion, all to the national level, when healthcare is devolved. And it's supposed to go to the counties. So let's have a very genuine conversation here. And that genuine conversation is this. The proposal that the national government had proposed of reducing the national burden by 346 is not being financed by the ordinary revenue. It is being financed directly by debt, which county governments don't have the power to go and borrow from.
Absolutely.
So let's stop this conversation at a point where we are where the National Assembly is being dishonest, and make sure that we can have it at an honest point. And the honest point is this: that then is being catered over by debt that the counties cannot be able to borrow from. They don't have that instrument constitutionally, and therefore we maintain the money for counties at 400 billion, period. And to finish, Chair, the Mother Act that is already operational actually anticipated this and indicated that in case of this shortfall, the national government will bear because it has got this instrument of being able to borrow. Let's respect that and maintain the 400 billion for counties. I thank you, Chair.
Let's go to Honorable Sifuna.
Chair, I thought the agreement was you go to Senate, you come to National Assembly, because that is a mediation. We are two houses. So,
Honorable Sifuna.
You know, Chair, you will agree with us that the National Assembly, we didn't mobilize today, so we are a bit few. So, when you see us trying to repeat ourselves, it is only that to take care of our members who are not around. So, having said that, I wanted something procedural as chairs, as co-chairs. When members give their views, it is not appropriate you dismiss them at first glance. So it is good that what Honorable Wundo said, I take exception with my co-chair, Honorable Roba, that you responded immediately to, no, even if there are facts, but it is good as chairs. You know, that's the reason we put you there, so that you can listen and we analyze. And yeah, but if you mute him at that first instance, chances are, because we are in the media, it's like he wasn't making a point. But that's what I wanted to raise. But now, looking at what my brother here has raised, I don't know why he has come up with us those data. But from reading, the plain reading of it, I think the sources is a bit questionable. Because, no, may I finish? You will respond. You will respond. Now, if I being in the Department of Agriculture, and you know, Chair, the loans that the Department of Agriculture have taken is around 47 billion this financially. Now, no, the ministry, sorry. Now, that ministry, all the money goes to the programs in counties. So, to allay that counties don't take debt, I think it is behaving as if we don't live in Kenya. And most of this, if we go to energy, for example, energy, it is not the national government that consumes energy. It is the people who are living in counties that consume energy. So, some things, when we even say that 30 billion has gone to national for health, we know health is for the people, and the people who are benefiting are from counties. There are no people for national government, neither do we have people for county government. All these programs is meant to support. May I finish? Now, looking at the reasoning of my neighbor.
30 seconds.
No, I want also to reason the way they have reasoned. So allow me to reason like that. Let us do facts. And facts are this. Last year, the national government raised revenue to a tune of 2.46 trillion. If I'm right. Or whether they are ordinary, those are facts. Out of that, the consolidated fund services went by around 1.2 trillion. And I want somebody to do me a quick maths. 1.2 trillion. Counties took an average of 385. So we are already in around 1.7 trillion. In terms of paying the public service, it's around 600 billion. That already we are in 2.3. TSC, TAC takes around 350 billion. Already, may I finish? Without even running any programs in government, we are done with the national revenue that we are raising. All through for this government to be able to execute other developmental projects, it has to borrow. So when you base your argument on borrowing, it is both hollow, it cannot be substantiated, so that you know the revenue we are raising is not even enough to pay on the recurrent expenditure. Thank you.
Honorable Sifuna.
Chair, I say this with the greatest respect. I am sure that the public can see that in such processes, the sort of mobilization that is required is not numbers. Correct. So, we in the Senate, know what to bring to these processes. It's not numbers. Honorable Chair, I want to first of all pick up from where Senator Eddie has left. And
I'm being asked, why are you imputing improper motives against your own senators? Against your own members of the Senate?
You have to allow the senators to complain because they have understood what I'm saying and they are not complaining. The senators have understood what I'm saying.
No, so, Chair, I think Honorable Sifuna is completely out of order. We are here to represent our people. You cannot impute improper motive that we came here and we don't understand what we are saying. We have only talked about facts. When we have talked about facts, we are not talking about law. So it is no. But
why are you suspicious? You didn't mention any name.
Saying that the National Assembly didn't know which people to bring to this committee, it is complete out of order.
Honorable Chair,
because we have to get the rules properly. Otherwise, this is a mediation committee. Unlike what we do in the chamber, well, we say, please allow anybody who is given the floor to air their views. You may disagree, you may hold the same opinion, you may feel it offensive based on what you hold, but allow the person who takes the floor to finish so that you can ask for space to interject. Like, you don't just press the mic and start talking while the other person is talking, because we will not be able to progress. Sifuna.
So members, please let's hear every member, if possible in silence. And for clarity of Honorable Sifuna, if you check on the minutes here, so that we move forward together. He's my brother, I need to put the record straight. If you look at these minutes here, you look, there is the side of the National Senate and the National Assembly. What he's saying is that if you look at the National Assembly side, there are already 4 members after their title is PhD. So please proceed.
Well, Honorable Chair, just a minute. Let me just clarify that the PhD should speak for itself. It should be clear to everyone that you went to school. If you have to refer to your qualifications and to bring them up for somebody to know you went to school, there's a problem. But let me say this, Chair, that we in the Senate understand that it is critical in this process to agree on principles. First of all, principles. And I like what Eddie has said, and if we can agree on the principles. I remember there was a very good member of the National Assembly, the first meeting, who had attempted to lay down what those principles should be. The first one, Chair, I wanted to bring to your attention that the documents that have been presented to me are not the documents that I asked for. If you look at Article 201, that lays out the principles of public finance, there is required to be openness. Openness. And I remember when we began this process, I made it very clear, Honorable Nyoro, that I do not trust you. And I do not trust the members of the National Assembly. Because we need openness in this process. And that is what Eddie has attempted to do. It would be easier. I asked a very specific question. You are saying we need to cut the allocation to counties by 20 billion because of the rejection of a finance bill of 2024 that was looking for an additional 380 billion. I asked for a breakdown of the programs for which that 380 billion was for. And the reason I was asking that, I could be able to see which programs were supposed to go to county government so that I remove those ones in terms of reduction of the amounts. But somebody somewhere is being clever by refusing to give me that information. And instead, somebody has printed out the on-source revenue of for counties. And as Senator Eddy has pointed out correctly, Article 202, and I don't see any other lawyers here, I could be wrong. Oh, Vero is here.
I'm here.
And who? Mungatana. I don't see him. Oh, Faki. Oh, are there any lawyers in the National Assembly? Okay. You know, we don't want to be accused of interpreting the law only from our perspective. But in the rules of interpretation of statute, including a constitution, even the title of a section and the side notes guide you to understand what the Constitution is talking about. The headline or the title for Article 202 is equitable sharing of national revenue. So therefore, somebody trying to bring up on-source revenue for counties is somebody trying to be clever. So I want the Secretariat, the people who prepared this, and the Honorable Chair, co-chairs, you will understand the problems we have even with the Secretariat of the National Assembly. And because I don't fear you people, I will tell you that in this process, we need openness. We need openness. Before we go line by line on the Nyoro, I would want to see, I asked another question. You are claiming that you have cut 325 billion from the national government. You need to show us. You need to show us what those programs are. We need to go line by line the way Eddy has done, so that we are not just plucking figures from the air. When Senator Mungatana says we divide, this is not a loaf of bread. You cannot just, how? It has to be a scientific process. And Chair, so that I conclude on the scientific process, it's not as if this process has no guidelines. Senator Eddy has also referred you to Article 203, which lays down the criteria for sharing. If you are not using that criteria and you are just cutting it up into 5 pieces like Mungatana, that one will not fly with us in the Senate. So of the 11 criteria, Honorable Chair, of the 11 criteria under Article 203(1), 7 of those criteria address county governments and their needs. That should tell you something. And therefore, my proposal is, can we agree on principles? I remember the Honorable Member for Ugenya, who is not here today, had asked the question, can we agree on principle? The first principle we need to agree on. If there is a shortfall of national revenue, who has the capacity to absorb that? And then we proceed. Let's lay down line by line the budget for the national government. Show us where you have cut this 325 billion, and let us go the way Eddy has done, has demonstrated, so that we can show each other who has the capacity to actually absorb a 20 billion. I'm in the Committee of Energy. I have heard the CS of Energy himself saying that now infrastructure development in energy is going to go PPP way. What is that 20 billion or 30 billion you people are talking about in the energy sector? So that we can say, instead of us haggling here about 20 billion shillings, give the counties their 20 billion, cut that 30 billion from the Ministry of Energy, and give the contract to Adani.
Let's go to National Assembly. Just a minute. Let's go to Honorable Makali Molu. Just a minute. I'll come to you, Dr. Honorable Gesheru, we are now going to Honorable Dr. Makali Molu, PhD of Economics, to respond to Honorable Sifuna, the lawyer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, at times when you see some of us are quiet, it's because there's a lot of misrepresentation of facts. And I hear the Senate bragging that they have lawyers. Maybe that's the reason we are not agreeing. Because I don't think they understand some of these things. The truth of the matter is, the 346 billion, Honorable Spuma, you cannot tie it to a project. The money goes to what we call consolidated fund services. And it is drawn from there to implement government programs which amount to a budget of total of 3.8 trillion. So you cannot pick that money and say it's from this program. When we did the budget, we approved a budget of 3.8 trillion, around that figure. And that budget is funded from three sources. revenue, ordinary, A&E, and loans. And that comes to the issue being raised by the other senator. The money which is being borrowed is already factored. When we approved the budget deficit, it means the government was to borrow money to a tune of 702 billion, 767 billion. So that borrowing is part of it. And that's why I'm saying at times we are facing each other. I'm sure the economists here, that's why when you ask questions, they just keep quiet, because at times they may not be able to tell you what you are saying. The 325, because the money was part of the ordinary revenue, when it's not collected, it means automatically you have to scale down in terms of activities. We were presenting a listing of projects from the National Assembly where the reductions were done. I think you still, have you shared that document? Yeah. It should be part of the documentation. You see a listing of what was done. So, and I think co-chairs, the issue which we need to address, as I said earlier, you have a financing deficit of 346. The national government has taken 325, as we said. We are causing the senators, through the senators, the county to accept to take a reduction of their programs and projects of 20 billion. 325 from the national government, 20 from the county. Now, if the senators believe that by taking 325 as the national government, it's not good enough, and what the national government, because we are saying, this year is unique, Honorable Senator Sifuma, this year is very unique. We don't have a finance bill. Next year, we are likely to have a finance bill. We have also seen attempts where the National Treasury is out there, through our finance committee, doing public participation. If the public do accept that we collect additional 172 billion, that means already this deficit we are discussing will now be reducing from 346 to minus 172 to something less than 200. And we are saying, if that happens, we are not blind. And I didn't get the other day, some of us seated here, we have ambitions to become governors. So we want to cut the budget for governors. But we are saying, can we be realistic that this unique financial year, where we are facing challenges as a country, because we don't have a finance bill, that we allow this 20 billion, and you can put a caveat subject to, if there is an additional collection from what we have agreed, then the money could also be reverted back to the counties. That was the argument. Otherwise, you all agree counties require more money. If I were the one, I would be giving them 700 billion, because that was CRA, Commissioner of Revenue Allocation, has proposed 701 billion to the counties. But in the reality on the ground, can you give that money? If you want us to go back to borrowing, and we all know what is happening in this country because of borrowing, it's a subject of another day. Because I don't think any Kenyan would want to say, borrow more, to give money to counties. It will look very awkward. Because some of the things they are doing are recurrent. Do you want to borrow really to go and fund recurrent expenditure? These are the issues. So that's when you see us who are finance people keeping quiet. That's our position. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, let me, before we go there, please, let's go to Honorable Dr. Ojiapo Oudo, PhD.
Chair, probably Dr. Makali Molo has picked it out. I wanted to bring to the attention of the Senate team that when you look at the presentation that was made by Parliamentary Budget Office in the last meeting, table, which is actually named table 3, table 4, clearly picks out areas that there was a reduction for each and every one. So in terms of the list is clearly stipulated here, and if you are not probably the specific programs, I'm sure the report for the Budget and Appropriation Committee is a public document that can be accessed even from the parliamentary website or any other government document to satisfy yourself. Or that we are trying to buttress that we are all Kenyans. And as Kenyans, when you you find yourself in a very difficult situation, we must share the burden of this difficult situation. Probably it's also important that when the national government undertakes programs, it does not separate who is a developed Kenyan and who is the national government? Kenya. All those programs go to affect or support the people of Kenya. When the greatest chunk goes to the security sector covers both the so-called national government as well as the developed government. So as we sit here, and I still want to beseech again, we should not go into some kind of thing, state probably based on argument on matters that we tried as much as possible last time, on the legalese or the constitutional legal issues. We tried as much as possible to dispense with them last time, and the purpose of today was to crunch the figures. And the figures are speaking for themselves today. Thank you, Chair.
Let me go to Honorable Senator Faki. He has not spoken.
Thank you, Chair. If you look at the table Dr. Undo, PhD, has talked about, executive, for instance, the vote on the executive office of the president, it was approved at 1,200.9. That is 1 billion. There is nothing that has been revised. Yeah, but then at the end of the table, you see that the same 1.2 trillion is still the same figure.
No. When they say zero, it means
please be on the mic so that we.
No. When they indicate
Honorable Undo, Secretary, do you have notebooks and pens? You can.
When they indicate zero, it means in the revised budget they removed that allocation that was in the initial budget. So it means on the development budget, the Office of the President was initially allocated 1.2 billion. When we revised the budget after the Gen Z protest, the entire amount was removed. So they have no development development allocation at all. So look at where to say not the dash. It means everything was cut. Thank you, Senator.
Honorable Senator Faki, I was saying, Secretariat, you can see the members who may need a pen and a notebook. Please provide for them so that we also take notes.
Chair, my concern is this, that if you look at the whole quote of the budget, there are several devolved functions within that budget. For instance, if you look at housing, housing is a devolved function. If you look at the public health, medical services, these are devolved functions. If you look at technical, Department of Technical and Vocational Training, these are devolved functions. Why do you have billions stuck in the national government to undertake development in the devolved functions? Because these functions are all devolved. The government doesn't build technical and vocational training institutions. It is done through the county governments. Yeah. If you go to water and sanitation, yeah, irrigation. Yeah. So these are the voters. Sports, for instance, culture and heritage, youth affairs. These are all devolved functions. Livestock development, the blue economy, yeah, Department of Agriculture, Department of Livestock. All these are devolved functions which require the funds to go directly to the county government. Now, if you make savings on these all devolved functions, you will see that the 20 billion we're asking for is not too much. Thank you.
As I go to Honorable Wamatinga, please, members, as we go to Honorable Wamatinga, members, you also need to know that you may peruse the conditional allocation to counties. Some of those programs that appear as national government actually also appear on the other side as conditional grants in the counties. So we may need also to be in that perspective. Honorable Engineer Wamatinga.
Thank you very much, Chair. I think indeed we are doing quite well, but I also think that we are running in the wrong direction. One, there are two issues that we must divorce in this process. We are trying to talk about hard figures. What is possible? We know the economic situation the way it is. It is important to also admit that even we in the registrar have taken a cut. I know the committees have taken a cut. Importantly, as we are talking about unbundling of the functions that are supposed to be devolved, that is a process that we need to look at. But that should also be divorced from the process of now what we are discussing here. I would invite members. Last financial year, we had allocated counties 385. I think it would be unfair to go below what we had allocated them. But admittedly, because of the situation the way it is, and we are all Kenyans, and I don't think that we should make a distinction of who are senators of the National Assembly, because the issues facing us are issues facing the country of Kenya where we all live. And at times I find quite unfortunate when we get to meet and then we talk about the Senate or the National Assembly, one would think that we come from two different communities. And this being a country that is quite prone to such issues, I think for us, let's now start talking about figures. Yes, we had asked for 400. It is not possible because of many issues. As we look at the issues of also unbundling the functions that you go to the county government and knowing also the challenges that are there. Some of our county governments are yet to develop even systems and mechanisms to be able to handle those functions. As we do that, as we go on empowering and enforcing and making sure that we reinforce the functionality of devolution, it should also not be lost to us that we are living in a very peculiar situation whereby the economic times are very hard. That is one thing. Two, and I agree, I like what Senator Eddie said, we should not talk about own source revenue. Why? You are raising the own source revenue also from the same citizens who you are raising these other revenue from. So we are going to overburden them. And I think, members, it is important, and for us who are a bit elderly, it is important when you have a situation like this to start getting now the solutions. What are the possible options that we can put on the table? And then we agree. And then moving forward, we say, should this situation, as a situation like this arise, the law states clearly that the national government should be able to take the burden, but then is that practical? And we know that even with the parliamentarians have taken a cut. So we are not saying that the county government should take the cut. What we are saying is let's come up with a figure that we can say, yes, we had given 385 last year, we should not go below that. Let's try to approach what we had given them and then add something without wanting to go the mathematical bread way, what Mugatana said, but it doesn't lack wisdom in what he was saying. For the elderly, some of us who are elderly, they may look the wisdom at times where you say, this is the most amicable way of solving this. Otherwise, we'll discuss this every day out 30 days, and we'll never come to a solution. Is that the purpose of us sitting here? I do not think it is about demonstrating the academic professionalism or powers we have either in the Senate or in the National Assembly, and looking at now even we have alternative curriculum or whatever it is, where you even get the knowledge without necessarily going to school. These are things that we should have to bring on the table. So members, I think, let's now start putting the figures on the table.
Chair, just one
I thank you, Chairs.
Chair, just 1 minute. Just 1 minute. Just 1 minute.
Mic off, please. Before we go into, because we've not made much progress and we like to guide differently, I want to request members of the press to allow us to have a close session between us, so that I will invite you back at the right moment. We'll have closed session for about 20 to 30 minutes, but you will be advised. Just you can excuse yourself. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Sifuna, because I think Honorable Matinga said something against you.
No, it was not against me. He said something against education.